following show contains two grown men vehemently spouting off unpopular opinions about some of your favorite pop culture movies, shows, characters, and franchises, then demonstratively taking a large peanutty shit on them. So if you are an easily offended, pearl-clutching, whiny-ass little bitch who cries when people have a different opinion than yours, or if you piss your pants when people trash your beloved area of pop culture, then we suggest you do one of two things. First, grow the fuck up and go fuck yourself. Secondly, this is not the podcast for your candy ass, and you should turn it off now because shit's about to get personal. You've been warned.
Ladies and gentlemen, prepare to have your asses chafed and your feelings hurt as two middle-aged white men do what two middle-aged white men do best besides raping and pillaging the world, and that's force people to listen to the unsolicited opinions about some trivial bullshit. So welcome to the Cheeky Basterds podcast. And now, here are your hosts. From America, the notorious Scott K. And from England, the cynical Mr. Smith.
Heidi fucking oh, you slag-jawn sons of bitches, and welcome to part one of our very special three-part season 2 kickoff of the Cheeky Basterds podcast entitled Bayhem Unleashed. That's right, for the next 3 fucking months, myself, Mr. Smith, and our very first ever special guest, Mr. Petros Patsilivas of the Caves and Coppola Connections and the Getting DaFoe podcast, will be taking an explosive journey through the filmography of show favorite. I'm talking about the Earl of Explosions, Michael fucking Bay.
You, sir, are a horseshit artist!
To determine once and for all if he is in fact an action auteur or just a flashy horseshit artist. Now for part one of this daunting quest, entitled the Baytastic 5, we'll be taking a look at the best of the Bay filmography based on the average of all 3 of our rankings of his films. And now it gives me great pleasure to welcome in my heterosexual life mate and co-host, Mr. Steve Smith, and the man whom we have graciously bestowed the honor of being our inaugural guest, Mr. Petros Patsilivas. Welcome, gentlemen, to the Bayhem.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome. Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me. I'm ready to get into this. I feel like I said in a message to you guys, I feel like Joe Pesci being led out to the desert right here. You guys have got your aluminum baseball bats. You've got.
I mean, it was still way too hot for me to even go near Vegas. So I set up a meeting with the guys way out in the sticks. I didn't want my brother to get fucked around. I mean, what's right is right. They don't give a fuck about. Ah!
You run, motherfucker! Tough guys, huh? Tough guy! You and your fucking brother! You fucking scumbag! No more! No more! You see? Watch!
You might be in for a surprise there.
Okay.
I won't say which way that's going to go, but
Head in a vice.
I want to say to both of you, this is really kind of set up by both of you, all right? So, obviously, I've been talking some shit about a movie that we'll get into in one of these episodes. I won't tell you which. And I've been dragging on Michael Bay.
You, sir, are a horseshit artist!
It's Mr. fucking Smith over here who, the reappraisal, we have on this podcast over the year, we have tried to change it when we feel it wasn't fresh anymore. It was getting stale. And one of the things we started moving into was reappraising things that we thought we knew original opinions about. And we started this already. So I have liked this new path. I've gotten some feedback from some of our other podcasting friends who actually like the same path we've chosen, to reappraise things and not just, stick our feet in the ground and say, nope, this is how it is and we know this and never go back and look at it. Now, it was also Mr. Patsilivas, when you two were together, which you did a great episode together on his show, he had sent you a message and asked you, either pre-recording or after, that he wanted to come on and kind of take us to task for everything we'd said. And while I thought that would be a fun episode, I thought we would get more out of it if we all did this painstaking attack of going through all these movies and actually, for our own eyes, going back through them, and for some, like I think Mr. Smith, seeing them for the first time. So it gives me and Mr. Petros a little bit more of a leg up on you, because this is definitely, I think 3 of the films of his 15 I hadn't seen. So they were my first watching as well.
Well, I'd, on our recommendation and usual horse shit round at the beginning,
yes,
I'd only seen 13 Hours was the only one I'd seen. So I had a lot to get through.
Which is quite surprising considering some of the movies that were in the 90s that you missed. It's quite surprising that you missed a few of those. Like, Bad Boys, The Rock, and Armageddon seem like 3 films in the 90s that, especially people our age, would have seen in the theater because those were those big summer blockbusters.
Yeah, I think that's not really my taste in movies. I don't really go for that sort of stuff. But this has been educational.
Yes. So I thought, who better to bring on to do this than Petros himself? And I knew that the 3 of us would have a great conversation. And I also, as I've kind of alluded to Steve, as we've recorded a few shows since we started this, I started my journey June 20th. It took me almost just shy of 2 months to get through it. And Pearl Harbor, I don't want to spoil anything, but after watching that, I had to take 2 weeks off. I had to step away for 2 weeks. I was like, oh God, that's 4 movies in. I was like, I have 11 to go. I was like, I don't know. So I took 2 weeks off, and I got into it religiously. I said, all right, we're going. At least every other day I was trying to get a movie knocked out. So now, gentlemen, on that note, what were your feelings, good and bad, initially going into this? As, what did you... I mean, we all had come in. Obviously, I probably came in, and the fans of the show would know that I probably came in like, fuck Michael Bay. Every movie's going to suck, and I'm just going to shit on all of them. That would be a very fair thing for people to think that I would go on. What were your first initial reactions? I'll go with you, Steve, first, because this is your first time out the gate in Bayhem completely. What was your initial thought? We'll get into what you feel at the end of the last episode. What was your initial feeling going into this, and maybe some of the things you're excited for or dreading like crazy?
Right. Well, for the most part, I think why I've always avoided Michael Bay movies is not because of him. Didn't know not much about the guy. In fact, I only found out about a week ago that he got his start in commercials. So I'm not familiar with the guy, and I think a lot of it was. It's just the genres he tends to use. They're not really my thing. With exceptions, which I'm sure we'll get into. But yeah, really, it was mainly, I don't really like big budget, special effectsy, blockbustery kind of popcorn movies. That's just not my thing. And that's what he excels in. So that was really it for me. It wasn't anything, any like militant stance against anything. It was just like, that's not my thing. That's just not my thing. There's a million films like that, like the Transformers stuff and various like Armageddon, things like that. I'm just not interested. Whoever made it. And I'd be disappointed if a director I liked made one. I'd be like, I don't know, just pick one out of my ass. Ridley Scott. If he did some bubblegum popcorny CGI fest, I'd be like, oh no. Because I'm always looking forward to his movies, and if he does something I'm not into, it's a bit of a bummer. So, yeah, it's mainly genre. That's a genre I avoid, so I avoid Michael Bay. So, there you go.
Mr. Patsilivas.
I came in this with, like,
rose-colored glasses?
No, a fascination to kind of revisit some stuff I hadn't watched. Like, I remember seeing Dark of the Moon. I worked at a cinema, so Transformers, and, like, I think the reason I went to watch that, I think I'd already kind of fallen out of step with the Transformers movies, but like there was like a staff showing of it, so we got to see it early. So like that was the main reason for seeing that, more of a social thing. And I just wanted to look at the films again and look at like the kind of the contextual like landscape of them, where they fit into cinema at the time, and kind of like to the point of Steve's is like to analyze that thing. Are they big like CGI smash 'em, grab 'em movies? Because I think there's some of that in this, but one of the things I learned going in is like some of it is like real practical filmmaking. Like there's one film in particular that I feel like is going to take up a lot of their time. That is like practical as can fucking be. Like, do you know what I mean? Like I was trepidatious in a way, just because I'd not left it to the last minute, but I knew I was just going to be mainlining these movies literally like constantly. And I didn't watch them in chronological order either. I kind of like
I did. That was fun.
I did too.
That was fun.
I wanted to get through like some of the ones I hadn't seen,
gotcha,
just in case it got right down to the wire, and it was like, oh, I've seen The Rock countless amounts of time, so I can hold that up until last and still, even if like, do you know what I mean? I get partway through it or kind of have to watch it in pieces. It's like, it's just refreshing. It's not like ingesting something for the first time. So yeah, I was excited because I realized there's a lot of kind of post Transformers, like, so 6 Underground, 13 Hours, I hadn't seen. So I was kind of like looking forward to being like, oh, what happened? Because I'd never seen the Mark Wahlberg Transformers movies, and like I'll say it now, not to spoil anything, but I wish I hadn't seen them. But yeah, no, I was excited, and at the same time, I think anything when you have a daunting task of 15 movies to watch for essentially 3 podcast episodes, it's like that's a lot of fucking work to be getting on with.
Even if it wasn't by one guy.
Yeah,
just 15 movies.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just 15 movies. Yeah. And then like, we were just talking off mic about the fact like recently William Friedkin has like passed away. And it's like, I want to be like mainlining William Friedkin movies again and kind of like celebrating his life by watching those movies. And instead it's like, oh no, you've got to watch like 3 more Transformers.
I was kind of thinking earlier, not to skip too far ahead, but I was thinking, I can finally start watching some good films again. That's not strictly true though, because I've got some surprises in store.
Well, yeah, I know what you mean. Since the reason we did this is because I have been after Michael Bay since episode 1 and the whole horseshit artist. And some of it is tongue in cheek, but I wanted also what I thought would be fun about us doing it this way when you and I talked about it, Steve, and then we brought in Petros, was I really wanted to go through all of them from start to finish because I realized I've seen most of these films. Like with Transformers, I was young, my kids were still young, so like I probably took my son, he was 5 years old when the first Transformers came out. You know, now he's going to be 21. So like it's a long time. So I couldn't believe how long ago those were. So I've seen some of those because of my kids, some of them because in the 90s, obviously Mr. Petros is a Nicolas Cage fan, so am I. To me, Nicolas Cage became the meteoric star he is in those 2 summers in a row where he does The Rock, he does Face Off, and he does Con Air. Those 3 movies in a row are just like, you know, those are the summer blockbusters. Everyone's going to see this. So of course I'm fucking seeing these films. So a lot of these I'd seen, but I wanted to make sure that I wasn't just, you know, putting my blinders up and remembering things or just maybe going off of things I'd heard other people say. I didn't want to just be that person who goes, you know, I just fucking hate Michael Bay for this reason. Yeah. And I may hate Ambulance, but I don't think there's other, like I said, and I may not hate him as much.
We evolve as viewers, don't we, too? Mm-hmm. You know, I've changed my mind on lots of things over the years. I'm always very hesitant, really, to just say I fucking hate something. Because maybe I was in a bad mood that day.
Yeah. It's your stance on the Evil Dead. Or Evil Dead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
You went 13 years ago, you fucking hated it.
And like I say, for me, I did feel a little bit like, how come... I felt a bit ashamed that I hadn't seen The Rock, you know? I'm like, hang on a minute. Like you pointed out, Nicolas Cage, Sean Connery,
yeah.
I mean, what a cut. Again, let's cut that. Yeah, we're getting ahead. I do that. I ramble.
No, you're good.
But I think I've been on that journey you're talking about. I've been through that kind of like, because I would have been like 7 when Armageddon came out.
Yeah.
I remember that summer or like when that hit Sky, it was like Deep Impact or Armageddon, which camp are you in? So I kind of like, I watched that a lot as a kid. And like, I remember Bad Boys 2, like that was a pirate DVD we had when I was a kid. So I watched it all, loved it all, like Transformers. When it got to like the 3rd, I kind of fell off. And then started having those views like, fuck Michael Bay. All it is like gratuitous arse shots of like women and explosions. And now I've come out the other side and I've gone, he's a trash genius.
Right. I
mean, spoiler alert. No, I guess we know how he feels.
maybe at the time, I was just a bit, because I was obviously older. I was on a different path at that time. So, you know, it's just a different era, you know. That's all. But yeah.
Now, before we jump in, Steve, I don't know if you felt this way, because you and I did it the same way, chronological. The reason I chose it that way was I wanted to see how he grew, you know, where his tropes started to really become his tropes.
Yeah.
Where, you know, maybe where his shortcomings were, but where, obviously, we do a podcast on the Bruce Willis stuff that's not watched, and our friend does a Nicolas Cage one, and I do a Tarantino one. So we get versed in some of these worlds where we get into the trenches and we start to watch them. You know what I mean? And then we start to become a bit of you know, I don't want to say academic scholars on it, but we have a pretty good stake in some of the shit we're going through and watching.
Yeah.
You know, we're giving up time.
Yeah, what I was going to do was watch all his movies, but then I was going to watch all the Transformers movies in a row. That was my intention. But then I thought, hang on a minute, that's not going to give me a true reading of the very thing you're talking about. The growth, the things that become like tropes and, little...
And where he's successful and where he, overdoes things. Like, I really
That's
enjoyed
harder
the ride.
to do that if if you're all over the place. You kind of need that tunnel vision a bit just to sort of see the path. Like I say, I've only seen one of these movies, so this has been a massive education for me. Yes. Massive.
And when we get to our final episode, we'll discuss if this is a good way to ingest films of people or not. Now, before we jump balls deep into the madness of Bayhem, we're going to skip our show's usual monthly recommendations and instead play a Michael Bay-themed game. However, you can check out our socials to see what movies or TV shows we've recommended for you to watch or to stay the fuck away from this month. And as an added bonus, we're going to include recommendations of our guest, Mr. Patsilivas. So over the next 3 months, be checking out for, usually it's the second day after the podcast comes out, we drop them out there on the socials. So stay tuned and be looking for those as we get them out there. Now, gentlemen, the game we are playing for our first month is Name That Bay. How the game is played is I will summarize one of Michael Bay's movies in the most vague way possible, and then you must tell me the name of the film I've just described. The person to raise their hand first, that I will see, that our listeners will not see, will get first crack at it. There will be a total of 7 movies for you to decipher from, and the contestant who deciphers the most correct will get a slow motion hand job from Mr. Michael Bay himself. Good luck to you both.
You gotta take it where you can get it.
Movie number 1.
A man's shop is vandalized by members of a local step team. I love watching your brain scan through 15 movies in your head.
I don't know.
In one of Michael Bay's movies, a man's shop is vandalized by members of a local step team. A step team is a dance team here in America. That gives away anything. Any guesses?
I'm drawing a blank.
Mr. Petros?
Bad Boys 2.
You are correct.
Correct. Bad Boys 2. When they go into the guy's shop and they start dancing and breaking it up. That's a step team. They even talk about it.
Oh.
Hey.
Okay.
Look, at Petros wants this hand job. Slow-mo hand job. Hero hand job.
Movie number 2.
A man is given a helicopter ride to a refugee camp.
Man, I'm no good at this, clearly.
6 Underground.
You are correct.
6 Underground is correct. Oof. I would have thought you got that, Steve, because you just watched that 2
I think I've
movies
forgotten
ago.
most of these films already. I've had to take notes.
Movie number 3.
This will be a good one. A distraught employee files a missing sneaker report.
Pain and Gain.
You are a dumbass.
No, incorrect.
That's what I was going to say. I was then going to jump in with that one.
You are a dumbass.
It's The Island. In the beginning, Mr. Ewan McGregor, he's missing a shoe in one of his
course.
things. Yes.
Of course.
Yes.
Pumas,
I might put these on
believe.
letterbox as the
Pumas. If you'd have said
description.
Pumas, I'd have got it.
Movie number 4.
This should be easy. A man sexually assaults a woman with some food.
Pain and Gain.
You are a dumbass.
No. You hung on the pain again.
I got nothing.
Armageddon. The fucking animal crackers.
Oh, yeah.
Come on. Come on.
Bend
Come on. It's
over.
one of the most famous scenes of his movies ever. Whether that's good or bad, we'll get into that later.
Movie number 5.
A young woman dumps her meathead boyfriend because he won't let her drive his truck. Every one of these descriptions is just one scene from the movie.
Transformers 2.
You are a dumbass.
Ooh, close but wrong. Close but wrong.
3.
So my kids, just keep counting until you get the right one.
4.
You are a dumbass.
The original Transformers.
No.
Megan Fox's boyfriend won't let her drive, and he says something about Sweet Bunny or whatever, and she walks away from him. That starts the events in motion.
Movie number 6.
With the housing market on the decline, a realtor is forced to pick up a second job as a security guard.
Pain and Gain.
You are a dumbass.
No. Eventually, you'll get there. Steve, anything?
I got nothing.
13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi. The reason Jim from The Office's character leaves is because the housing market's no good, and he goes and is a security guard over in the very peaceful town of Libya. And our final movie,
Movie number 7.
a local healthcare worker starts up a neighborhood watch. Anybody?
Pain and Gain.
You are correct.
Pain and Gain. The one that finally is Pain and
I
Gain.
think I just got
Boom.
that quicker than Petros. He would have got
Petros,
everyone.
though, is the winner. He will get the slow motion hand job. Watch for our socials. We may have a YouTube channel coming up too, or maybe an OnlyFans channel devoted to Michael Bay's sexual favors. And it'll be
I folded under questioning. What can I say?
I wonder about you sometimes, Henry. You may fold under questioning.
All right, and now for the moment we've all been waiting for.
The Cheeky Bastards present Bayhem.
Over the past couple of weeks, the three of us have watched all 15 of Michael Bay's films, some of us in order, some of us not, to decipher once and for all if he is an action auteur or just a flashy horseshit artist. Now, those films are, in chronological order, Bad Boys, The Rock, Armageddon, Pearl Harbor, Bad Boys 2, The Island, Transformers, Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, Transformers Dark of the Moon, Pain and Gain, Transformers Age of Extinction, 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi, Transformers The Last Night, 6 Underground, and Ambulance. First up, we will be tackling and discussing
The Baytastic 5.
or what we're calling The Good, which are the top 5 movies of Michael Bay's filmography as determined by the average of our rankings of his films. Now, how we did that is we each ranked our films from 1 through 15. I got the two gentlemen to send them to me. I took them together, added them up, did the average of the 3, and based on them, we have our 1 through 15 for the show rankings. I will now give the first 5. We will start with number 1. I will give you the description I came up with and tell you the movie, and we will then get on our way.
Number 1. Miami's favorite wisecracking trigger-happy cops return to break more rules in an effort to take down a Cuban drug cartel. This time around, the stakes are higher, the guns are bigger, the cars are faster, and the explosions are more explosion-y. With a body count and property damage to rival a war zone, it will make you wonder how these two loose cannons were ever allowed to carry a badge and gun in the first place. I'm talking about 2003's Bad Boys 2.
Now, gentlemen, you're going to be surprised at the top 5. We're pretty close. Like, there are some movies we are really close on. Like, our numbers are really close. And then there's some where there's like 2 are near each other and there's an outlier. So it's fine. We'll have that discussion. Now, so everyone knows where these ranked. For me, I ranked this as my number 2 film. Petros had this as number 4. And Mr. Smith had this as his number 3 film. So, got a pretty good average. Put it in number 1. What I'm going to say about what I enjoy about Michael Bay, that term that no one who's listened to this podcast for 12 episodes has ever heard me say. So there you go. Ding, ding. I said it. Is he can really do some action. He can do some fun action and have some fun. He took a really good, and obviously this is the sequel to the Bad Boys, but he took the buddy cop formula of the 90s, with which he added one with Bad Boys, and he amped it up a bit. They had fun with it. Some of the action in this, you're just like, what the fuck? Like, just your jaw is dropped. You're wondering, how did they fucking shut down Miami for so long? How did they get that bridge scene to happen? Can't but awe at some of the things he does in this film with his action. Mr. Smith, being this that it is your first time, what about this film did you enjoy? What did you take away from seeing Bad Boys 2 for the first time?
Well, obviously, we'll get to Bad Boys, but I actually found the car chase on the bridge exceptional. There's there are some real standout set pieces, but not all of them action. For me, yeah, obviously the bridge car chase, the morgue scene, a particular highlight for me. But actually, my favorite scene, my favorite scene in the movie is when Martin Lawrence's new boyfriend comes to the door.
Classic. It is a fucking classic.
I was on my own and I was lolling. I was laughing out loud alone.
Will
in a
Smith
room.
is never better in a film than in that movie. It is so great.
Well, full disclosure, I don't even like Will Smith, but in this, you got to hand it to the guy. But even Martin Lawrence as well. I mean, yeah. So there's some real standout scenes, and just not all of them action. But for me, the morgue scene was great. Yeah, there's a lot to love about this movie. It's kind of, for a buddy cop movie, it's kind of got the lot. It ticks the boxes exceptionally well. So, yeah, I dug this one.
He does such a good job with that bridge scene. He's going to replicate it in a couple movies, as we'll probably get into. After that bridge, that's why watching in chronological order was fun, because you go, oh shit, he really loved this bridge scene, and it's going to be in other movies.
You know, Martin Lawrence, after taking the ecstasy, when they go
Joe
to...
Pantaleone is great.
Joey Pants. Yeah, Joey Pants, yeah. So there was just a lot of set pieces that I just was totally into, and I was vocally just cracking up watching it. So yeah, for me, I just loved it.
Petros.
I just love the kind of like grotesque use of like lighting, and like it may come through a lot of these films, but this one I think like the first time where it's almost like he doesn't care that there's like light flare everywhere. And I'm not talking about like
no, I know what you mean.
Like the light bleed and his uses of like blue and stuff like that. Like this film is just like drenched in primary colors. Like there's that scene where they like attack those guys in their kind of like rundown house, and there's that amazing like 360 shot
camera thing that becomes his signature. Yeah,
like all of that stuff, and like it's just all this kind of like blue hue throughout the place, and like greens and stuff like that. And like I like that the film like talks about like the moral ambiguity of these guys, and kind of like self-aware to the fact that they're fucked up basically, in the fact like Joey Pants is there just having like an aneurysm every time of like, you guys are just costing the city so much fucking money. like,
forgot to say, all I could think whenever Joey Pants was, it made me think of Bill Burr.
Yes.
Just that same kind of, I'm about to have a heart. It's like you say. Yes.
Yeah.
That was just, all I could think was, Bill Burr reminds me of him, should I say? Probably.
Do you remember what I said? Because I was there. I remember because I said it. He's shooting baskets. He can't hit a fucking shot. He's fantastic. He is so good in these.
I think Martin Lawrence is the secret weapon of those films. I think like one of the things that I think like a slight shortcoming of the second is they tried to like sideline Martin Lawrence to make it like the Will Smith show, and it's like from.
I was kind of going to get to that when we talk about the first one.
I think for me, and I'm glad you brought up. One of my notes when we do get to the first one is I felt Martin Lawrence was a little over the top. He was trying too much to be the Eddie Murphy type.
I don't think he was trying to be.
I mean, I love him. I actually liked him more toned down because I thought his humor was better. He wasn't too over the top. We'll get into that later. Anyways, but this is one of the movies that I go, damn it. What do you ever want to say about Michael Bay? When he puts his mind to making an irreverent, and I should state that, when he knows that the shit that he's putting on screen is absolutely, he leans into the 80s stuff like Steve and I are used to when we were younger. We needed heroes who were doing crazy shit, and we know none of that was real. It was all implausible, but we were okay with it because we had great leads, and it was fun set pieces, and you could buy into it. Some of his movies we'll get into, when he starts to think, when he tries to become a serious director, that's why I think he falls apart. This is some of his best. When he leans into like, look, I'm good at fucking action, and I'm going to throw these guys together, and he's got the right leads, it's fucking gold. I mean, I loved this movie, and I was it's one of the few movies I was really excited to get to watching, because I saw this in 2003 on, like you, Petros, on a ripped DVD, because I was in Iraq. So this came out in the summer while I was over there. So we probably got this from someone in Kuwait in like the fall. I remember sitting and watching it, and when we saw the fucking bridge scene, we were like, what? Like there was more damage being done in this movie than the shit we were doing over in war. I was like, damn, these motherfuckers are killing Miami. This is like, holy shit.
Scott's out there living his 13 hours life whilst trying to enjoy Bad Boys.
Like, holy shit. I thought we had it tough. I was like, damn, Miami-Dade, they've got it real tough. And again, everyone has their thing. Like, I'm a Tarantino fan. He's got the trunk shot. He's got a few things. I will say, that 360 camera going around, that is a fucking damn good use in that movie. Like, I fucking loved it. Oh, 100%. For being a fan of football, is the XFL came out, early 2000s? Remember the XFL? They tried to be a football thing. The one thing the XFL brought to American football, and probably to other sports, is that overhead cable camera that can come over the top. They put that in. There was never in sports before. So the XFL was just a flash in the pan, but that is a lasting thing that they've done. And now that 360 will be a lasting thing that he really pulls off really well, is that camera. And the use of that was just fucking amazing.
Well, one of the things I'll say is, like, through my research and looking at Michael Bay, is what he always asks his team is when he's like prepping for a film, because he uses like the same like team all the time. Basically, it's kind of like a family he's created, and he will say like, what's like the new tech, or like what's new that we can be fucking around with. And you can kind of see that, like, and that's why I think, like, for what people say is his shortcomings and stuff like that, I've always said, like, he's like the Wario to James Cameron's Mario. in the fact that like James Cameron is out there like pushing technology forward and like, do you know what I mean? Like no matter what your kind of reservations are for the Avatar films and stuff like that, for just a sheer magnitude of what he's doing technically, you can't
argue. No, agree.
Can't argue with it. You can go like, he is doing stuff with computers and like mocap and like stuff like that. It's like, and then like Michael Bay is doing that, but he's like going, let's do it really fucking scrungy and horrible and like, do you know what I mean, trashy. Let's like, we're gonna get a camera and literally shove it up someone's asshole. Like, do you know what I mean? Like what's the new tech? Do you know what I mean? I'm sure if there's like colonoscopy cameras that he could be using for stuff, he'd be fucking using them. Like,
I'm looking forward to what he's gonna do with AI. He's gonna make it the worst. He'll take AI goes.
I'm not sure it's intentional personally, but anyway.
We'll get into that. We just did
I don't think
movie
that's
one. We got 14
trashy.
to go, sir. You relax.
I think you're giving him too much credit.
Relax. This fucking guy. All right? Hold yourself. All right?
Number 2. A nerdy FBI agent and a badass ex-con team up to break into Alcatraz, which has been taken over by a rogue unit of Marines who may or may not kill everyone if their demands aren't met. Childlike bickering eventually leads to a shaky alliance as the two unlikely heroes save the day while classical music plays over excessive violence and mayhem. I'm talking about 1996's The Rock.
Not The Wrestler, the movie that came before The Wrestler, The Rock. They should have trademarked that so we couldn't have it. Because now if you search The Rock, he's the person you get. He's the first hit. You don't get this movie. As I've well stated, I fucking love Nick Cage. I will die on a hill. I will fight anyone to the death who talks anything bad about Nick Cage and they don't know what they're fucking talking about. This movie, and I don't mean to be mean to Nick Cage, this is a Sean Connery movie. He is so fucking... I rewatched this and I was like, God damn, Connery was good. He was just so fucking good in this. And I love the fact that recently there's been this big push on social media that is The Rock really a James Bond film? And I was rewatching, I was like, this is kind of cool, but I don't want to shit on that thing, but I think because I was looking, he's like arrested in this movie like earlier than the last James Bond film he was in. So it's kind of like, it doesn't hold a lot of
just
water,
nerdy
but
shit anyway, but that's fun.
Yeah.
That's just a bit of fun.
Yeah, no, I fucking love it. I fucking love it. I watched it now with this new thing of like, he's James Bond. Like in my mind, I'm like, he's James Bond today. I don't care what his name is in the movie. I'm like, he's doing this as James Bond.
Well, James Bond would definitely have the sentiment of winners go home and fuck the prom queen.
Yes, especially his James Bond.
He's a misogynistic piece of shit.
He wouldn't have said, yeah, but he was classy. He wouldn't have said it.
Yeah, but it's like thinking.
He would have just done it.
If
James Bond would have just done it.
He would have said it, but they would have found a way around because he had pussy galore. He would have found a way around saying it.
You don't know James Bond. He wouldn't have said it. He would have just done it. He's not a sayer. He's a fucking dude.
I'm going to start with Mr. Nicolas Cage, podcast man himself. I know you've covered this. How did you like rewatching this and now watching it instead of as a Nicolas Cage film, but as a Michael Bay film? Was that a different eye to now look at this through?
Well, what's interesting about this, not only is it a Nicolas Cage film, this is the first time that John Schwartzman, Nicolas Cage's cousin, like works with Michael Bay as well. So he DOP'd it. So, and I think like where there is like pause for people to say that like John Schwartzman is part of like developing Michael Bay's kind of visual style as well, because he was the DOP on this, Armageddon and Pearl Harbor. So like had like a kind of, do you know what I mean? Like a technical aspect to how these films are made. And like, yeah, from speak, like I spoke to Nicolas Cage's stand-in, Michael Kairis, about this film when I spoke to him a few years ago, and he told me some amazing stuff about Michael Bay. And like he said, like a lot of the stuff you hear about Michael Bay, like he shouts and stuff, is very much true. But it's like he just wants shit done, and he knows how he wants stuff done, and he is happy to just be like. And I don't even think it comes from a place of like fuck you. He will like, camera operator's not getting the shot. He was like, fuck it, I'll operate the camera then. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just that thing of like...
Yeah, he's in charge. Like, he's the general. Yeah. He wants his shit done. Yeah, I get it, yeah.
And I know how the film... Do you know what I mean? Especially if you know how you want the film to look in your head. I don't know, yeah, you'd be like, fuck it, I'll just operate the camera on this shot. So, yeah, watching it as a Michael Bay film, it's got all of the archetypal stuff in there. It is very hoorah. Do you know what I mean? The fact that it's... the politics, and I think you can say this for about all of Michael Bay's films, they're all over the fucking place. You do not know where he kind of stands.
No, they swing the wind.
Well, he doesn't write anything, does it?
he does not. That is
but he
true.
chooses the images on screen. Do you know what I mean? And he obviously has some say in the edit to like how things are going. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, he chooses for people to deliver speeches in front of American flags and have this kind of like very gung-ho American imagery of like, one, it looks really cool, but Nick Cage with the kind of flares and the like.
Yeah, but that's where his politics lie.
The platoon, the platoon remake.
But like, they're very muddied in the fact of like, is he like? I can't tell if he's like some kind of right wing. Do you know what I mean? Hoorah!
I don't know, because in a movie we'll talk about, but in Armageddon, he's making fun of, or in one of the Transformers, he's making fun of George Bush. The guy playing the president on the plane is making fun of like George Bush and stuff. No, I'm saying like, I think he's clearly pro-American, but even in 13 Hours of Benghazi, and we'll get to that, but he doesn't lean into the Hillary Clinton thing that like he loves America and the military, but I don't know which way he swings because he just seems to make fun of things left and right. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't seem to center on a single thing, I guess. I don't know. It's just whatever.
I don't know. I mean, he's not a writer.
No.
You know, second unit and fucking assistant directors, he's got a million of them, so let's not give him too much credit.
Real quick, though, did Schwartzman ever work with Tony Scott?
No.
Because the first few films of his, I felt a very similar style to the Tony Scott, Jerry Bruckheimer films.
Well, I think it's just the Jerry Bruckheimer like style.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously he moves out of it. I think after Pearl Harbor, once we get into like the island and stuff, when he gets into 2000, he slides a little bit out. But early on, like especially Bad Boys, the first three, it feels a lot like I felt more of a Tony Scott feel to even his action and cuts.
Style. I think Jerry Bruckheimer and Don Simpson kind of said to a load of directors, and like Con Air, they've got Simon West, but you could easily say that's a Michael Bay film.
I thought that was Michael Bay. Exactly. When we had a discussion, didn't we?
So does Family Guy. Because if you ever see the show where Family Guy is redone by Michael Bay, because they do these things like if this show was done by Michael Bay, the character that Peter plays is fucking what's his name from Con Air, but it's done by Michael Bay. Michael Bay didn't direct that fucking movie.
I've never seen Family Guy.
Do you know what I'm talking about, Petros? Have you seen it?
I can imagine what you're talking about.
Yeah. Anyways, so Mr. Smith, what did you feel about The Rock having seen it finally for the first time?
Well, firstly, shame. Great. I haven't seen it before because of how much I love Nicolas Cage. I mean, of course, Sean Connery. I mean, big deal. Sean Connery is to, you know, us Brits. I mean, I know Scottish, but I just mean
he's a big deal. I just think he's a big deal.
Well, yeah, no, in general. But I mean, with the whole Bond thing, growing up on Bond, but then being the films that you first saw as a kid are probably James Bond movies. You can sit and watch a film with your dad, and that's what you'd watch is probably a James Bond movie. It's just a great concept, great idea, well executed. You know, you're starting to see the Bayisms.
I love it. Some becomes an Indiana Jones movie, right? There's like, like a mine cart and like these booby traps there
that are not a part of the Alcatraz at all. He just said, "Fuck it."
It's kind of one of those movies where you sort of think, if you don't like The Rock,
what's wrong with you?
You might not have a pulse. You know, it's like, come on, you know, you can say like, this is the most stupid film I've ever seen. This is ridiculous. That's got nothing to do with the film being good or not. You know, it's got a great pace to it. And you know what? When you see Sean Connery with the long hair walking down that corridor, cuffed up in slow motion, you're just like, fucking, let's do this. You're just in. You know, and Nicolas Cage is just...
He's tapping into what would become the Cage rage. He is tapping into the, let's cut the chit-chat a-hole. It's just like, what?
Yeah,
it comes out of left fucking field, man. That is so beautiful, though. It just comes like, he just helps him get away from talking with his daughter and getting arrested. It's just out of left field.
Ed Harris is just
fantastic.
On fire. He's just so intense.
Michael Bihn's great. William Forsythe,
playing a good guy.
That shower room massacre.
Yeah.
It's really good. You're like, oh, this is really good.
You know what? I mean, it's just, you know, it's pretty much embodies 90s action movie.
90s blockbuster action films you would go sit through in the summer.
But it's top tier as well. It is up. It deserves its reputation, and it deserves to have a Criterion.
100% agree with you.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
No, 100% agree with you.
I'm all in. I was in. You know, like I say, I watched, obviously, this is the second film.
Yeah, this is the second film they make. Yeah.
I was like, we haven't got to his first film yet, but watching this, and I'm just like, this is just...
No, this is lightning in a fucking bottle.
Yeah. If every other film Michael Bay made sucked, that wouldn't matter.
This is his favorite movie. He has gone on record saying this is his favorite movie that he has directed is The Rock.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
And you know what it does? It does what I say a bit is when things aren't being taken seriously, spectacular stuff happens. Yeah. The minute we have to pretend that this is real, it falls apart at the fucking seams. Sean Connery owns the screen, but Nicolas Cage holds his own with Sean fucking Connery.
Well, I do
and
take
even Ed
issue.
Harris.
I do take issue with a lot of this Nicolas Cage stuff because I think. Not with you guys.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah, I know what you mean. People
There's
who just shit on him.
There's a lot of mockery involved. Yeah, I'm not talking about you guys, but I get that vibe a lot. I'm like, look, you're talking about one of the best actors of his generation.
Yes.
You know, he makes a lot of shit movies,
but he's the best part in every one of those fucking movies. Except for maybe one or two that I've come across.
Nah, not really. He probably is still best in
them. Yeah, we've been doing the Bruce Willis stuff, and he phones it in a few.
That's a different ball game. Yeah. But you know, so I have got a little bit of an issue with all this I love Nicolas Cage, man, type shit. Because he's like, no, you're full of shit. You like the classics, yeah. You like the classics. You haven't got. No, I mean, I like the classic.
No, I'm saying these people, they like the classics.
But
they don't get any deep.
I do too. But you know, look, he's on fire at the moment.
Get in the fucking weeds. See the USS Indianapolis. Get in the fucking weeds. See some of the.
No, don't get those weeds.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying.
See Deadfall.
Michael Biehn as well.
Oh, love him. Yeah.
Who is absolutely. He's like Nicolas Cage too. He's always good.
And it's unfortunate he never really became more than what he is.
He just didn't have the presence, I don't think.
But, you know, he's in like 3 movies we've talked about. He's in what, Aliens?
Yeah.
He's in Terminator. And he's in The Rock.
Well, The Abyss as well. He's good in The Abyss. He's good.
He's doing some of his alien stuff in this, right? Like he's kind of like head, like kind of like.
Yeah.
I love all of that stuff, and to Steve's point about this being in the Criterion Collection, I think of those kind of 90s actioners, this is like, if anything, and some of it does come down to I think the Criterion had just started in the 90s and wanted to kind of bolster sales, so they kind of on stuff, but. I think if the Criterion Collection are doing what they're saying of like stuff that is culturally relevant, this is culturally relevant for the 90s. Do you know what I mean? This is kind of, like you said, it's lightning in a bottle. It kind of captures what 90s cinema is. And it's kind of this dumb, fun action. Like, it's a film that, like, I'm not sure if you've seen, like, there's footage, like, knocking about online. They did the premiere for this film in Alcatraz.
In Alcatraz, yeah. I remember.
Have you been to Alcatraz?
No, never been.
I've been twice.
Now, have you been on the underground cart system?
No. Yeah, that's now like a roller coaster.
Like a little water slide. It's nice. That's cute.
Loop, and then it goes backwards. It's amazing.
It's great. That's sweet.
The bit where they start shooting at you, though, that was a bit frightening.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But no.
As long as you lay down just enough, you'll get illness.
You'll be fine.
Don't worry about it.
You'll be fine.
I hear at the end you get to chase a little green ball and dive. And if you catch it, you get to come back for free. If you don't catch it, they shoot your parents. That happens.
You lose basically. But no, Alcatraz, fascinating place.
Those green balls as well. Really great in a dishwasher. Do you know what I mean? Like, put in your washing machine.
What you don't realize is the Tide Pods were created from this Michael Bay movie. We have, product placement early on. The
conditioner's already in them. Did you know that? The conditioner's already in them. So.
Did you know as well that this film, there was something in the Chilcot report in regards to some of the weapons of mass destruction that Iraq had, and it basically turned out that somebody had just copied and pasted the
description.
You know what? I had heard about that.
I said that's what Saddam Hussein had, and it turned out to be fucking hokum.
Yeah, I did hear about that, but I didn't know it's from this movie. I didn't know it's from a movie.
Because you hadn't seen this movie, you son of a bitch.
It's the time.
Oh yeah, of course. Well, no. Yeah, well, no, I still could have read.
Listen, American intelligence.
Get the fuck out of here.
Listen here, you gonna question us? We're gonna make it up. Over here, America.
But yeah,
look, we wanted some land. How about this? This fucking movie sent me to Iraq. The sons of bitches.
Yeah, there you go.
This fucking movie. This fucking guy.
You got far more deep personal connection to it than us. That's
clearly. That'll bring us to number... Oh, I'm sorry. You know, before we jump, I should have told us what our ratings were. I had The Rock as my number 3. Petros has it as number 2. And Steve had it as his number 4.
Number 3. 3 bodybuilders with more testosterone than brain cells kidnap and extort a rich douchebag for all he's worth. When the biggest moron in the group snorts all of his earnings up his nose, this trio of fuckasses takes another crack at the extortion game. But this time around, things get gruesome, gory, and downright asinine, based on an unbelievable true story. I'm talking about 2013's Pain and Gain.
I'm going to go on record and say this may be The Rock's best performance of his entire career. He is such played against type. This movie, fucking loved it. I don't know what it is about this movie. We all had it ranked very high as well. Mm-hmm. This was my number 4. Petros had number 5, and Steve is his number 2. And I remember, I think, sending to you guys in our group message that, wait till you get to Pain and Gain. I was like, I think you're going to be surprised with this. Because I hadn't seen it in a while.
You've said that to me on numerous occasions, actually. I think even before we decided to do this.
This is one of those films. This is what has made this fucking journey such a conundrum for me. This has been a roller coaster ride. Some moments I'm like, this guy's a fucking genius. Other times like, why the fuck do they keep giving him money? And then other times I'm like, man, he can sometimes go out of pocket and do things different. And then sometimes he fucking can't. This one and another one we'll talk about, I feel, are two that he sidesteps his normal action genre that he's knee deep in. I mean, he hits a home run with this. This is just a fun fucking movie. And the fact that most of this is true, there's a few things like The Rock's character is a combination of like 4 other guys who are actually involved in this.
Composite character, yeah.
Yeah, but it was just so much fun to fucking watch. It's so bizarre. And he did such a great job of making it bizarre. I felt like it's not in the same vein, but it was like what Oliver Stone did with Natural Born Killers. You're like, what the fuck is happening? How are these things real? You know what I mean? Like when he keeps going through this stuff, like how did any of these people get away with some of this shit until they didn't? Mr. Smith, your feeling on seeing Pain and Gain, and was I correct in being like, if someone said this was a Michael Bay movie and you'd never seen it, like, there's no fucking way this is a Michael Bay movie. Right? Like you walk out of it going, this is a Michael Bay movie?
While I was watching this movie, I was convinced that it was the best film I'd ever seen. And I'll tell you, a perfect double bill. Pain and Gain and Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
100%.
Both made in the same year.
Yep.
Both
true stories
completely,
that you can't believe are true.
Both true stories about complete scumbags that you can't believe it happened. And there's a great bit in Pain and Gain where a title card comes up on the screen and said, This is still a true story.
When The Rock is cooking the hand outside.
The Rock, Mark Wahlberg is incredible in this.
Yes.
Because he is precisely who he actually is in this, I think. He is that meathead.
Let's go that too far. Yeah.
The Rock is sublime in this.
I think because Michael Bay directed this, they got screwed on nominations for acting.
Quite possibly.
Right? Like, I just think that sometimes you have a taint on yourself, and the people, you know what I mean? You have a taint on, you get tainted, and people have a stigma, and you can't get past that.
And the Academy have got 2 films that are kind of dealing with the same kind of moral ambiguity, and both films I think came under at the time of release. And this is why I think they, again, to echo your point, Steve, that they make a perfect double bill, is there is people who will watch like both Wolf of Wall Street and Pain and Gain and go like, oh, these films are like glorifying these guys. And like I know people who take against Pain and Gain, like, and especially coming from a director like Michael Bay, they'll be like, oh, he's kind of going, look how cool these guys look. It's like, nah, he just can't help himself in the way he kind of shoots stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's like, I've got bodybuilders.
I actually felt that the guys the way they're portraying were guys who actually thought they were doing right. Like Wolf of Wall Street knew they were ripping people off and knew
not necessarily they think they're right. They just
people.
Feel like they're entitled.
Yeah.
It's their sense of entitlement. It's not that.
Well, it's the old American adage of like, if he's the bad guy, then they're the good guys. They see the douchebag as a bad guy. Why should he have the money when I'm a good person? You know, they believe I'm a good person. I deserve what they have, not them.
The sense of entitlement. The Rock on coke is just one of the best things I think I've ever seen.
He's either on coke or Jesus.
Yeah, Anthony Mackie with his cock problem. Where do you begin even describing this film to someone other than just to say, just watch it? Because I couldn't believe it. And like I say, while I was watching, I was like, this is just the best thing ever. And this is coming from someone who I was like, you know, I'd obviously seen the Bad Boys movies and The Rock by now, and I'm just thinking, this Michael Bay guy, I mean, he's firing on all cylinders in this, and the story is batshit crazy. Everyone is going all out on this.
Tony Shalhoub is like firing on cylinders.
He's another one. He's another character actor, isn't he? He's always delivers. He's a great actor.
And then Ed Harris shows up midway through towards the end, and you're like, oh shit, I forgot Ed Harris is in this, and he's so much more subdued than his Rock one, but he's so great.
Well, that's the thing, you know, you can't say he's a ham, he's a scenery chewer, because he knows what is required of him, you know, he's a genius. But yeah, I could just, I'll just keep saying how much I loved it. So I just loved it.
Petros.
Well, yeah, I remember seeing this at the cinema with an ex-girlfriend of mine, and it being like one of those like really polarizing experiences, you know, like where she definitely had that like thought in her head when I like kind of extolled how much I liked it. She's like, I don't know if this is the right guy for me. Do you know what I mean? Like this is just.
Well, I think you found out she wasn't the right girl for you.
Yeah, well, yeah. I did a bit later on, but like, do you know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, sickos, yeah, like this is fun. Like, and the thing is, you just got to look at the cast to know that it's a really dark comedy, and that's what I liked about it. Like, I said to a friend of mine, it is like Michael Bay doing Martin Scorsese, basically.
Oh, I
like,
thought it was Michael Bay doing the Coen brothers on cocaine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's
the same
just
thing.
Yeah, exactly. I guess I was redundant. I could have just said Michael Bay doing the Coen brothers, and you got the idea. Yeah.
When I was going to write my notes for this.
You were on cocaine?
Yeah. No, I just thought. The most gratuitous moment, I wrote all of it. That's literally what I've got in front of me on my phone. All of it.
Yeah, like there's like slow motion spit coming out of people's mouths.
Well, I've got that. Yeah, that was another one of my notes. Was getting tasered in the face.
Yes, in slow mo, phenomenal.
Yeah, that was
yes. But The Rock's attempted robbery and escape, I had that as my best action sequence. That was fucking insanity. Insanity.
Yeah.
What makes him such a confuddling person is this movie is one of those movies you go,
but good for
this
him.
Is so good. That
good
you go, why can't you do more of this?
Yeah. You can't write, at this point already, you cannot write Michael Bay off. When I saw this, I was like, all right, there's no way I'll ever say Pain and Gain and horseshit artist ever again, because when Pain and Gain comes... if all he ever did was The Rock, you'd think the guy was, at least he did that, he was legit. Then comes back, then comes this. So we're seeing a lot of things happening here. That's fireworks were going off, and I was, like I say, I was just in love with this film.
Well, it comes at an interesting point in his career, right? In the fact that like he'd done 3 Transformers movies before this.
This is his Wahlberg era, as I like to call it. He had his LaBouffe era for 3 Transformers, then he gets into a Wahlberg era where he does this and 2 Transformers with Wahlberg. It's like he has like these eras where he's got like Willis and Affleck early, Shia LaBeouf in the middle, and Wahlberg towards the end. And you're like, all right, these are his guys.
This is loads of people were like confounded by the fact that like this is what Michael Bay does as like a one for me. And it's like, it's like you can see you can very much see it's the same director. He's like stepping right back into the kind of Bad Boys 2 kind of, you know what I mean? Like you can see they are the same director, like 100%. They've kind of both got that garish use of light again. They both got that kind of like portraying these very morally ambiguous characters that like are you supposed to root for, and like I think the whole career makes this one like I can understand why people take against this film, but at the same time I love it because you look at the cast and you go, it's a comedy. Do you know what I mean? Like you've got Wilson in there, you got Ken Jeong, like it's just like the people he's littering it with. You got Peter Stormare with like a great kind of like cameo as the Doctor, who's like kind of like pulls out. He's like, "Don't worry, I have the cock working in a few minutes." Like this kind of sleazy Doctor, and it's just like everyone's firing on all cylinders to just be like, right, this is just like Miami sleaze again. Yeah, it's kind of back in a place that like I think Michael Bay is the director of Miami, right? That if he were a place, it's Miami. It's kind of bright lights. It's a bit dingy. It's a bit grubby.
Like, thank God he made this.
And it's that movie that you watch, and he doesn't do. There's not a lot of action in this movie. He's an action director who was able to step out of his comfort zone and make a great film without it. And it's as we get further down, because look, we're at the top right now. We're descending. And we'll get into decisions of why we think that these trajectories happened. You know, and we'll talk about it as we get toward those parts.
Number 4. Giant robots from space that are more than meet the eye crash land on Earth and destroy everything in their fucking path in cool slow motion. All while a teenage boy runs around screaming as he desperately tries to save the world and fuck one of his classmates who seductively poses next to expensive cars while explosions pop off all around them. I'm talking about 2007's Transformers.
Sorry, I had to do that.
Now, I'm the outlier here. I'm the outlier because I'm the one, this was my number 1 film, and I'm going to explain. Petros had it at 6, Steve, you had it at 10. I feel that of all the stuff that Michael Bay is. All his tropes, all his everything. There has not been a series where he is able to do that and you just be able to go, you know what? We're talking about robots from space. Like, you don't have to go in thinking, oh, I wonder if this is going to have some kind of deep meaning. One, probably because I'm a child of the 80s, and I don't know if the Transformers landed big in the UK and Europe in the 80s in the cartoons. I don't know where Transformers is in the realm of pop culture for you. In America, huge. Getting the toys, it was fucking awesome. This has an amazing cast, and since we do a podcast called The Dropping of Bruce, available wherever you find your podcasts, we did a movie with Mr. Josh Duhamel, who happened to happen between these movies that he's done with Transformers. In that episode, we said Duhamel can't be an action star for shit. Yet in these movies, he showed us differently. So I was kind of like sitting there going, the fuck, Duhamel? Fire with fire? The fuck? You can't be an action star in this fucking film? What the fuck, bro? You're doing it here?
I know.
Right? I even text you, go, wait till you see him in Transformers. Like, what the fuck? We were fucking robbed. And now when I find Duhamel, he's getting punched in the throat. He fucking robbed
I'm
us.
I'm wear my t-shirt with Pride Duhamel for president is what I'm saying. He's the one consistent thing for that whole piece of shit series of movies.
I love Shia LaBeouf in this.
LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf's parents, fucking amazing. Kevin Dunn, I forget his mom's
Kevin
name.
Dunn.
Fucking amazing. This is what he, in my opinion, does best. What he does best is crazy action, fun sit down, you don't have to think about it. I think this is where he actually excels with his action, is in the Transformers. Now, I know as we go through them, they'll probably fall down the list. But the reason I like the Transformers the most is this is the most Michael Bay movie. The slow-mo in it is cool because he can do it with robots transforming, so it's so fucking cool when they have their moments of fighting. He can destroy shit, and we don't care because it's a fucking sci-fi movie. We don't have to have our brains on for it. He gets great acting. I think Shia LaBeouf is a very underrated actor who, unfortunately, because of some of his outside stuff, gets him, people don't like him. But if anyone's seen the movie Fury, the tank movie with Brad Pitt, he's spectacular in that film, as that film is. So for me, I really, really, really enjoyed Transformers. I got to take my young son to it. It was better than I ever thought it was going to be. And he was the perfect person to bring the cartoon in that world to life. Again, like you said, he doesn't write these. Some of the people still do write them, and a lot of the stuff, as we'll get into them, people trash about Transformers is about the plot. Look, there's one thing Michael Bay's not a whole lot worried about, it's fucking plot, all right? The man is not always concerned about if the plot has holes in it, because there's every movie we've gone through, every one of them has a hole in it, except for maybe some of the true story ones. For instance, in The Rock, Nick Cage dies. Nick Cage does not survive that missile. They don't call in 3 seconds as the plane's coming in to stop the missile. Nick Cage has obliterated the island it destroyed. But it's okay because we got to save him. We got to have this win. So if we're going to pick holes...
none of it would have happened.
No,
so
but I'm just saying, when some people are like you always tell me, it's an action movie. You're right. Like Transformers is the ultimate sci-fi action movie that you don't have to think about. And if you're not a fan of Transformers as a kid, it may not land for you as an adult. So, Mr. Petros, you're up first on this time. Your feelings on Transformers, this movie, not the rest of them as we get down the way. This movie in particular.
Yeah, it's fun, and some of my enjoyment to it comes from, and I think like what you're skirting around here, Scott, is like a nostalgia. Do you know what I mean? I would have been in my teens when this came out. This would have been, and I would have seen this at the time before every movie is now this. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
I think this paves the way to what the MCU
good or bad
become.
Yeah.
Bad. I'm happy.
So, but like, it's the template, right? And it's like, obviously, Iron Man kicks off the MCU, but then like, what was good about that is it was new, it was interesting, it was different for like a kind of superhero movie. And then this is like, it's an IP-driven movie in regards to the Transformers, and yeah, it's fun. Like I remember, I think I'm like the same age as Shia LaBeouf, so like, or thereabouts, and like I remember being like, yeah, like this slaps. It's funny. It's like, even rewatching it, I was like, this is dumb. It's stupid, but like it does what it says on the tin, right? It's a Transformers movie.
Mm-hmm. Megan Fox was hot in that movie. Jesus Christ. Holy shit, she really was. I was like, God damn it.
What I will say is...
I would go rushing into traffic with her too. I mean, what am I talking about here? We're going to go save the world.
I'll do jail time for a piece of that.
Oh, Jesus. What I will say is, it was on TV earlier, and I put it on because I was like, flipping the channels. and my son watched a little bit of it and just turned around to me maybe about 5-10 minutes in and went, "I don't like it, Dada." And
really? Well, I mean, it makes sense. You know, I mean, like it's definitely
Everyone's a critic.
Yeah, he's 4 as well. Like,
when he's 8 or 9, he's gonna have a whole different appreciation of that film.
Oh yeah, definitely.
No, I think he's
When he's 12, be careful when he's 12.
He's on a higher intellectual level.
Excuse me, Dada, can you put on?
He wants to see Battleship Potemkin. That's what he.
Well, he's a young gentleman who went to the cinema to see Marcel the Show with Shoes on. So he's seen
Really?
A24 film in the cinema at the age of 4.
He's one of those already. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dada, this doesn't have A24 vibes.
He had his little monocle in and
Yeah,
notepad.
Exactly.
His little tablet with a pencil.
Spec.
He's got his own blog.
Yeah, do you know what Mark Commode said about this film? I'm very interested to know.
He wasn't impressed with the mise en scène, was he?
No. It's too loud for me, Dada. There's too much crashing and banging, please. Can we put on something a bit more aesthetically pleasing for my nuance?
Good Lord. Mr. Smith, your feelings, and I know you're not a huge fan. First off, did you even like the Transformers as a cartoon / toy when you were growing up, or did that not land in the UK like it did here in America? Because it was big in America and Japan, obviously. It was huge.
Yeah. Well, I think it was, I may have probably been maybe 2-3 years too old.
Okay.
Maybe you were the right age.
I get what you're saying, yep.
And I think I was just the wrong side of that. So the nostalgia's not there for me.
I get you.
I'm really saying with that. God, it's literally, I thought it was poor, okay? Shia LaBeouf, I like the guy. I know he's had his problems, but I like the guy. Fuck it.
We're grown-ups. We can separate art from the artist.
Yeah, no, I like that he, what he did. No,
I thought he was...
I'm just saying, listen, I thought it was
Good thing
quite
I edit this.
Yeah, you might have to. But, you always have to. Come on.
Always have to.
I like saying this shit, so you have to spend time editing.
There's times I'm sitting there, I go, you motherfucker.
Having a little giggle, though.
I'll just say the Nickelodeon thing you did to me a couple episodes back. You remember,
anyway,
you son of a bitch. All right,
forget that. I just thought it was poor. It was a mishmash of Jurassic Park and Gremlins, really, is all I could think when I'm watching it. So, I'm like, I think as you were talking about earlier, special effects wise, I mean, we're talking top tier things, and now CGI is now at that point where it really is top notch. Really, I mean, visually, some of the set pieces and the visuals.
I think the CGI in these films hold up.
Absolutely. Well, I was watching an interview with Michael Bay, and he was talking about CGI, and he said the thing that lets CGI down is the lighting. He said that is the key to good CGI. And watching especially these Transformers movies, one thing I would say about all of them is the CGI is impeccable.
Yes, I agree with you 100%.
I'm seeing things I've never seen before, done in a way that you cannot pick apart. So,
well, it feels like it's on real locations as well. They're slotted into...
Absolutely, yeah. This is for me where no wonder I didn't watch Michael Bay movies, because this really isn't my kind of movie. And when people say things like, you can just turn your brain off to this sort of, it's like, well, there are good sci-fi movies that are fun where you don't have to turn your brain off. That's kind of like that thing when you pick a film apart and someone says, it's just a bubblegum pop, it's just a popcorn movie. You just don't have to think. And I'm like, Raiders of the Lost Ark was one of those movies. Jaws was one of those movies. Aliens was one of those movies. Back to the Future is one of those movies. Ghostbusters is one of them movies. And they're not fucking stupid shit where you turn your brain off. So it's just a direction that film went where spectacle was all that really mattered. Fortunately, no one is better at spectacle than Michael Bay.
That's true.
So I'll give him that. But the only reason, I'll give it props because of that. Because you can't argue with the visuals. Shia LaBeouf is a great lead, so yeah, not for me. I wouldn't have it in my top 5.
On rewatch, like Shia LaBeouf is a confusing character because he's supposed to be like
A
some
nerd,
but then he's also like really fucking confident and like he's got this kind of like bubbling aggression to him.
He's got that swagger.
Yeah,
he's got a kind of swagger to him.
It's like, the film is a bit confusing, like what they want him to be, whether they want him to be like this kind of like heroic action hero or like some kind of put upon nerd, and then like the way he kind of like deals with people, like John Turturro's character and stuff like that. He's like, yeah, have some of that. Like, it's just like really like, like he's letting he get like throughout the film. Yeah, we'll get into him as we go, but he seems to get progressively more aggressive.
He is wearing the Strokes t-shirt as well.
Yeah,
so
that's
got
where
good taste in music. Like... So, you know, he's kind of like, I know what you mean. I do know what you mean. Because he's got that he's got that confident swagger to him, where you kind of think that's not the guy I'm being sold here.
Yeah.
But like, then he's kind of stepping up to the plate, isn't he? He's like, I want to be a leading man. I want to be cool as fuck. I'm above shit like this.
Yeah,
I want to be. So there's this inner struggle.
Like your Gremlins comp is perfect in the fact of like what we need is like a Zach Galligan in this role. Do you know what I mean? Like a kind of like really sweet put upon, and like what we kind of get is like we're kind of sold it like we're getting that.
Yeah.
And the wheels just come off, and it's like that's not getting at all.
It's like the arc of the character is kind of reached almost immediately.
Yeah.
It's like by the end of the film,
I feel like Shia LaBeouf's doing his best Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, possibly.
100%.
Yeah, like,
he is so erratic all over the place at moments. It feels like a Nicolas Cage role sometimes. I don't mean as a slight. It just has a very frenetic role.
Yeah, with Gremlins, of course, with Zach Galligan, he becomes heroic by the end, and you know. Whereas in this, Shia LaBeouf has been sold as a nerd, and then within 5 minutes he's kicking ass, sort of, not quite, but he's quickly there.
I know what you mean.
He's quickly there.
He has confidence. He exudes confidence. He rises to the occasion,
which should be hard to swallow at that point. But
like a real nerd wouldn't be like when he's in the car with
Megan Fox.
You wouldn't even think about trying moves like when he's like going like, oh yeah, I put in that. Like, and it's like that is like a jock's idea of like, oh yeah, that's what
a jock would do.
That's what a jock would do to be like.
Well, he does it because he thinks that's what she wants as a jock. So he's trying to be his best jock.
I'm being a bit nerdy here, but like
he's so far removed from being a jock, isn't he? But that doesn't. I mean, believe me, that's a nitpick. That's not my issue. That's not really my issue with the movie.
That's what I'm all about, is hitting those nitpicks and destroying things that people love.
Yeah.
Oh, but, I got one for you coming up, sweet cheeks. Coming up. Boom. Anyways, that'll take us to our fifth and final in the top 5.
Number 5. Two loose cannon cops, one that's a chick magnet, and the other whose wife won't give him any bedroom action. Break all rules but get results, damn it, as they drive around in cool cars, shoot guns in slow motion, and make quip after quip, all while taking down a drug bin as shit is constantly blowing up all around them. Take your Miranda rights and habeas corpus and shove them up your ass, cause these bad boys don't have time for your laws. I'm talking about 1995's Bad Boys.
Mr. Bay's very first film. Now, our ratings are as follows. I had it as number 7, Petros has number 9, and Steve had this as his number 1 movie. I think it's because it's the one he can remember the most. He is old. He saw it first. He's like, I'm in. This is the one. This is the one that's my number 1. I remember this one. I saw it first. It's the most fresh in my mind. I don't remember anything else. Oh, that's what I love about this show. Anywho, Mr. Smith, you curmudgeonly son of a bitch. What is your love for Bad Boys? As you saw this, as I said, we did it chronological, so this was your first experience outside of the 13 hours, and you liked it enough that you put it as your number 1. So what was it about Bad Boys that really endeared it to you?
Okay, well, firstly, and up until 2 weeks ago, I didn't own a Michael Bay movie.
Oh my. Here it comes.
Sat up on my shelf is a 4K special edition of Bad Boys.
Did you at least get the double?
You what?
It was at least a double? Like you got the 2 for the Bad Boys 1 and 2, or no?
To be fair, I hadn't
seen 2 yet? Gotcha.
I hadn't seen 2 yet, and I just was watching it, and I was just like, I love this movie. I need this movie in my collection. You know?
Did you do the same for Pain and Gain?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet, because I'm not sure I need to own that one. But I'm not sure
Folks,
yet.
this is Steve Smith, the Nutshell. If you haven't noticed, it may be the greatest movie I've ever seen. I don't know if I need to own that one.
It wasn't the best movie I'd ever seen.
I know, but
I was high on coke at the time. Jesus. That's what
I love about you, though.
I just hacked someone's hands off and I tasered my old man in the face. So, come on. But I love buddy cop movies. And for me, this was a classic example of why they're great. The chemistry between Martin Lawrence and Will Smith is perfect. Will Smith wasn't Will Smith yet. I actually feel like it's more Martin Lawrence's movie than Will Smith's.
100%.
And I think that works in his favour. I just think it did everything right. It's quite small scale in comparison to all his other movies, but am I right? He was 26 when he made this. Doesn't that just make you feel like a complete fucking failure?
Well, yeah, that and Paul Thomas Anderson made Boogie Nights at 27. Yeah.
I know, disgraceful, isn't it? But I mean,
Petros' son's making one next week, so what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, hey, Dad, I think I better.
A24.
I'm busy over here.
Come on, yeah.
The whole it's elevated by the kind of that they have to switch characters, and Martin Lawrence has to pretend to be Will Smith,
which is the most ridiculous thing ever.
It just makes me laugh that he's even trying to put a voice on the phone to a woman who's never spoke to him before, and Joey Pants is like slapping him around the back of the head. It's just got this total fun vibe to it. The action is minimal, really, for Michael Bay.
Yeah,
Like isn't
it amazing to go from there to like the you're like, holy shit, he's like restrained.
But the end shootout at the airport hangar thing is full on explosive action, but done so well.
Which he paid his own money for. The theater, the movie company did not want to do it. He paid $25,000 of his own money to make that end happen. They did not want it to be as grandiose as he got it.
Yeah, well,
so that's, hats off to him for that in his first movie, saying, fuck it, we're doing this.
Like I say, I would put this up there with all the great buddy cop action. The reason I like this more than Bad Boys 2 is because this one's just a bit more contained, and like Bad Boys 2, like it's more of a Will Smith. It's now he's got that kind of like, I can do what the fuck I like, and it is a more extreme film, Bad Boys 2, and I don't think that doesn't make it better for me.
It's fine.
It's fucking great. Don't get me. Well, I don't like Bad Boys 2. I like Bad Boys. Well,
Bad Boys 1 is A24. I'm just saying, Bad Boys 2 is neon. You're moving on.
There's just something. There is just a simplicity to it, but it does things. It's actually quite original in a way because it does the character switch thing, and Will Smith's kind of like sidelined a bit, and because Martin Lawrence was no slouch. I mean, the whole Def Jam comedy thing, he was.
Oh yeah, no, he was the up and coming.
He had his own thing going on, and he deserved.
This is post Martin, right? So he had his own.
Well, this is also we can't afford Eddie Murphy. We've got possibly the next best thing because Chris Rock wasn't anything yet. All these up and comers. Dave Chappelle was nobody.
Yeah, and if we're wrong, we've got two of them.
Yes, because Will Smith is bankable because of the Fresh Prince.
Yeah, but he's quite good in it. I'm not saying.
Oh no, I know what you mean. But
I don't like Will Smith personally, but he's good in this. But he's
keep
good
his fucking wife's name out of your mouth, and you won't have fucking problems with him. Simple rules to follow, my friend.
You bald bitch over here.
You talking to her or me, you cocksucker? Hey, I think Petros is there too now. He's got a hat on.
I'm not far behind you,
there
mate.
we go. All right.
I'm not far behind you. I'm wearing a wig. But yeah, so Will Smith's not Will Smith yet. Martin Lawrence is great. Tia Leone, is her name Tia Leone?
Mm-hmm. She's hot, but she's useless.
She's hot, but she's good. She's not just eye candy.
No, I know what you mean.
She kind of gets her own moments to shine as well. Mm-hmm. And most of the great action stuff, like I say, Martin Lawrence is kind of, he's fucking giving it he's going all out. So yeah, for me, it's just a perfect example. Probably one of the last great buddy cop action movies until I would say, I'm sure I've forgotten one.
The Nice Guys.
Yeah, that's where I was headed with The Nice Guys. But this can sit proudly along. You could watch Bad Boys with Lethal Weapon, and you are.
Yeah, 48 hours.
48 hours. The whole thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no.
I just loved
it's
it.
in the pantheon.
I say, I can't buy every film I like, which is why I haven't bought Pain and Gain and The Rock yet. And Bad Boys 2, maybe. But but I like the OG. I like it's the original. It's his first movie. It's a confident movie, a successful movie. It ticks the boxes. So for me, I do think that's his best movie because it's got that small scale, but it's got that confident vibe.
I gotcha. I think what makes the two movies that we have picked as our number ones, they both are in a wheelhouse that we are comfortable with. You grew up loving buddy cop films, which is why this really lands for you.
Yeah.
I was a huge fan of Transformers. I love the out of the blue fucking craziness of the robots coming. Like I fucking was in love with this being on screen and how, like you said, the CGI was so well done. And then they got the guy who actually plays Optimus Prime to be Optimus Prime. You're like, I'm fucking in as a Transformer fan. So there is a lot sometimes, and I think we've had this discussion, which is why we started to change how our podcast is, where we've had a discussion about, we'll just quickly say, Oppenheimer, where we think it is a bona fide masterpiece. But it's not our favorite Chris Nolan movie. And I think there's things about that where I think the love of something for you can out-trump what everyone else is saying about it. Someone could say like, oh, it's got all this stuff. Like for me, Pulp Fiction is always my favorite Tarantino movie. It may not be as good as some of the other movies he's made, but for me, it will always be because there's a nostalgia, there is a sentimental thing to me.
If it doesn't mean something special to you, then what
and I think
that's the thing.
Yeah, Greg, and that's why I think we all like the Pain and Gain, because it was just something you're like, this is different territory. Like
it's insane.
And if you watch it in chronological order, what's is like number 11? You know what I mean? So you've already watched 10 films, and then suddenly this pops up, and you're like, where the fuck where was this? You know what I mean? Like, where was this earlier? This came out of fucking left field. So I agree with you. But Mr. Petros, you're feeling on Bad Boys.
I love the fact that it's a film that just kind of gets straight to it. Like it kind of it does like character introductions by just like seeing them hang out and stuff like that. It's not like guys in an office, like they're just in a car and they're kind of, the film just starts going. Do you know what I mean? Like it's kind of like it's always great to see like people that you love like pop up in stuff as well. Like Michael Imperioli turns up as like some kind of like guy,
tire
like,
salesman.
Put upon guy who they're like trying to get info from and stuff like that. Joey Pants again, like he's great in this one as well.
He is.
Yeah, no, I really like it. I just, there is something when it comes to Michael Bay films, I think because it is like the bombast and the kind of the trashiness, whether like it's intentional or not, is something that I kind of get a bit more out of. And I think like the fact that this is a bit more subdued, and I think it's the point we've all been talking about, right, is what you come for a Michael Bay film. This falls at number 9 for me, just because I just like... I'm
in the same camp as you. Not that I hate it. For me, Martin Lawrence was too much. I felt he was trying too hard to be funny. And the funny thing is here's what Steve and I, and this is why I love doing the podcast with you, is we both have very similar things, but then we both, so like for you, turning off your brain for Transformers, like I don't need to do that. For me, you have to turn off your brain for Bad Boys. The plot is absolutely fucking ridiculous. That makes no sense. Like
a remake of The French Connection. What are you talking about?
There is no need. You're right. I'm sorry. I do apologize. It is the...
It's
no,
just,
but there's like the plot, like there's no need for them to have to pretend to be each other when they're fucking cops. They can literally they're shooting anyone they want. They can literally say, look, bitch, you are now a witness. Doesn't matter if you want to be. This is who it is. This is what we're going to fucking do. Like, and then he goes back to his house because he thinks Mike's fucking his, like, there is stuff that they try to blow this fucking investigation every step of the fucking way.
But
every step.
That's
but I know, I get it. But this is why I liked number 2 better, is because, obviously this is their introduction, which I enjoy. Like, don't get me wrong, I was there opening night for this fucking thing in 95. And it was fantastic. And I loved it back then. I was like 21 years old. Or 20 years old. And then, so I enjoyed it. But as time has gone, Bad Boys 2 is, in just my opinion, so far better than this. And I like their dynamic better, and I like the story better. This one was just kind of like, you know what he did? He leaned, because it's his first, he leaned heavily on a lot of the tropes from what he saw in the 80s, right? So he really leaned on the buddy cops of the 80s. By the time he gets 8 years down the road and he does the sequel, he now is in control of how he wants to direct it and how he wants these characters to turn out. And we're not as slapsticky as we are in this film, in my opinion.
I think the second one's more slapsticky. See, that's the thing, isn't it? That's like
maybe. But like Martin Lawrence is losing his mind in this thing like every 5 seconds, it feels like. Like after a while, it's like, just someone shoot Martin Lawrence. Well, there was a moment I was sitting there, let's shoot Martin Lawrence. But again, it's your taste. Like I said, it's
absolutely.
Just the taste.
Yeah, it's just sort of like, I think, it's a genre movie, so there's going to be tropey.
Yeah, I get you.
But that's by the time you get to the second one, it's the Will Smith show, and everything's not better, it's bigger. But that's all I'm going to say. Because quite frankly, I'm not sure if I would watch the first one without watching the second one now.
That's fair.
Do you know what I mean?
That's fair.
Kind of like, why wouldn't you watch
You
them
can
both?
bypass the third one because Bay does not direct it.
No,
and
I
you
know.
can
Yeah,
tell.
I didn't actually know that.
And I know this is weird to say again on this
I was actually a
podcast.
bit
Since I
disappointed.
shit on them, it hurts. It hurts it.
I was kind of
let it out of his
disappointed
hands.
because I thought, I was going to get 3 Bad Boys movies, but I couldn't watch in a way. I couldn't watch it. But
Petros, do you have any more to say on Bad Boys?
No, I just think, I think it's got some great stuff in there. I never knew that like ether was so flammable, and like my kind of the 90s did big for ether, right? My knowledge of ether is it's really flammable or can get you really fucked up from Fear and Loathing.
So ether of the 90s is the quicksand of the 80s. Like, so in the movies of the 80s, quicksand was everywhere. It was a danger. You had to be careful if you walked outside into the woods somewhere. It doesn't matter what kind of terrain it was. Quicksand was waiting for you. So the ether of the 90s was what quicksand is for you.
Yeah.
All right, so there you have it. The Good from Michael Bay's filmography. And now we must say goodbye to Mr. Patsilivas until next month, as it is now time for Steve and I to induct 4 more films into our illustrious Top 100 films of all time.
The Cheeky Bastards Top 100 Films of All Time.
Mr. Smith, now that we have casted off Mr. Petros, it is time for us to induct 4 more. And it's not just any 4. We're inducting number 47 through number 50. We're reaching number 50 today on our inaugural episode of Season 2. We will eventually reach 100. I do believe I did the math on our second episode of Season 3, if we are lucky enough to survive the heating of the world and make it all the way to Season 3. You, my friend, will take us out the gate with your number 47 entry into our Top 100 Films of All Time.
okay, here we go. Well, we've just spent, 90 minutes or so, I guess, in the Hollywood glitz. But now it's time to get dirty, down and dirty. So we're going to go for Cannibal Holocaust, directed by Ruggero Deodato in 1980. Now, Cannibal Holocaust is a 1980 Italian cannibal film directed by Ruggero Deodato. It stars porn actor Robert Kerman as Harold Monroe, an anthropologist who leads a rescue team into the Amazon rainforest to locate a crew of filmmakers that have gone missing while filming a documentary on local cannibal tribes. Eventually, Monroe returns to the United States with film canisters that, after some editing, reveal the shocking fate of the film crew he was initially hired to find and bring home. Now, it's produced as part of the contemporary cannibal trend, which, I don't know if there was another alternative cannibal trend. Of Italian exploitation cinema, Cannibal Holocaust was inspired by Italian media coverage of terrorism. Deodato believed many news reports to be staged, an idea which became an integral aspect of the film's story. Additionally, other story elements were influenced by the Mondo documentaries, which were very popular at the time, particularly the presentation of the documentary crew's lost footage, which constitutes approximately half of the film. Now, the treatment of this footage, which is noted for its visual realism, innovated the found footage style of filmmaking that was later popularized in American cinema by the Blair Witch Project. Cannibal Holocaust was filmed primarily on location in the Amazon rainforest of Colombia, with a cast of indigenous tribes interacting with mostly inexperienced American and Italian actors recruited in New York City. So we're talking about a rough and ready bit of grindhouse here, which is not for everyone, especially, we need to address the elephant in the room of animal cruelty.
Oh, I thought you were going to address the animal in the room being a porn actor pretending to be an anthropologist. Sorry, go ahead.
There's nothing wrong with that.
A porn actor pretending to be Indiana Jones. Indiana Bones. Oh, they missed out.
I've got to be honest with you. I don't think many people will be familiar with the work of Mr. Kerman. Maybe they are. There's some animal cruelty in this movie, which is kind of hard to sit through, hard to stomach. But fortunately, there's 2 pretty major releases of this film. Grindhouse releasing in America released it. That was a company started off by Sylvester Stallone's late son, Sage. And in a UK company called 88 Films. Now, they've both released an animal cruelty-free version of the film, which is my preferred version to sit through because it's tough stuff. And there's no excuse for it really. But you can't say these were different times because, there was never a time when that was acceptable. Although at the same time, if you're a fan of American Westerns, practically every Western before 1974 was probably, all them horses being made to fall over. I'd say 90% of them were shot afterwards because of that would have broke their limbs. But it's a fantastic film. I watched this for years as a kid, and I watched a horrible ropey, 5th generation VHS. And it's only now that you can see it in Blu-ray 4K quality, you actually realize that it's a pretty stellar movie in its own right. Not only is it one of the best horror films of all time, it's very notorious and controversial, but it's spoken of in a much higher regard than it used to be. Unfortunately, this is no longer just a video nasty. It's a masterpiece of its kind, and now resides in the Cheeky Bastards top 100 films of all time. I thank you.
Number 47 is in. Woo! That brings us to number 48. And I started off last year. I had only one Tarantino-directed film. Well, guess what, motherfuckers? I bet you thought I would have more. Suck on these nuts, as we're now going to get into a second one right now, and that is 2009's Inglourious Basterds. Woo. Directed by Quentin Tarantino, this cinematic masterpiece defies the conventional war movie norms with its signature Tarantino style. This film is a unique blend of history, dark humor, and intense action that keeps audiences on the edge of their seats from start to finish. With its stellar cast led by Brad Pitt as the charismatic and unapologetic leader of the Bastards, Lieutenant Aldo Raine, and Christoph Waltz, who delivered an Oscar-winning performance as the cunning and menacing Colonel Hans Landa. These two characters leave an indelible mark on the film. As per usual, Tarantino's sharp and witty dialogue shines throughout, adding layers of tension and intrigue to the plot. The nonlinear storytelling keeps viewers engaged as the two main storylines gradually converge towards an explosive climax, with two asshole-puckering scenes, the glass of milk opening and the tavern rendezvous, as the film's standouts. Tarantino's use of music, as always, is impeccable, with a memorable soundtrack that complements the narrative perfectly. Inglourious Basterds is not your typical war film. It's a bold reimagining of history with a touch of revenge fantasy. It's a true testament to Tarantino's talent for storytelling and his ability to create unforgettable characters and moments. While it may not be for everyone due to its graphic violence and dark humor, for those of you who can appreciate Tarantino's distinctive style, it's a must-watch and a cinematic achievement that continues to captivate audiences, and it now takes its rightful place in our top 100 films of all time. So there, two Tarantino films that he's directed are in. If you include Tony Scott's True Romance, he's got 3 of his films that he's written in our top 100. Yeah. I bet a lot of the people who know that I have my Tarantino podcast probably thought I would have nothing but all his movies just come flying in, but no, I've spaced them out. So there.
Well, I'm hoping that coming up in a few episodes' time, perhaps I may be able to
sneak one in,
squeeze a couple of Tarantino movies in my.
We may have to speak because I do have one that has not been mentioned. I'm secretly waiting for maybe one of its major releases. You know what I'm saying? One of its anniversaries.
Yeah.
You know, maybe.
What could you be talking about? What could I be talking about? But yeah, so there's room for more.
That brings us to your second and our 49th induction of our top 100. We're about to hit the halfway point. Mr. Smith, give us number 49.
Okay. From 1967, we're going for The Samurai, directed by Jean-Pierre Melville. I'm going to read the blurb from my Criterion release, which the fact that it's on Criterion should itself say something about the movie. In a career-defining performance, Alain Delon plays Jeff Costello, a contract killer with samurai instincts. After carrying out a flawlessly planned hit, Jeff finds himself caught between a persistent police investigator and a ruthless employer, and not even his armor of fedora and trench coat can protect him. An elegantly stylized masterpiece of cool by maverick director Jean-Pierre Melville, The Samurai is a razor-sharp cocktail of 1940s American gangster cinema and 1960s French pop culture, with a liberal dose of Japanese lone warrior mythology. So yeah, the film depicts the intersecting paths of a professional hitman trying to find out who hired him for a job and then try to have him killed, and the police commissioner who's trying to catch him. Some consider the film to be style over substance. But on Rotten Tomatoes, the film has a 100% approval rating based on over 30 reviews and an average score of 8.5 out of 10. The site's critics' consensus reads, "The Samurai makes the most of its spare aesthetic, using style and influential direction, solid performances and thick atmosphere to weave an absorbing story." Jean-Pierre Melville is considered the spiritual father of French New Wave. He was one of the first fully independent French filmmakers to achieve commercial and critical success, a huge influence on Martin Scorsese and Quentin Tarantino. In fact, Tarantino cites Melville's Le Doulos as the best screenplay of all time.
Wow.
Roger Ebert gave the film 4 out of 4 stars, writing, "Like a painter or a musician, a filmmaker can suggest complete mastery with just a few strokes. Jean-Pierre Melville involves us in the spell of Le Samurai before a word is spoken. He does it with light, a cold light like dawn on an ugly day, and colour, greys and blues, and actions that speak in place of words." So that is my second induction this month.
Wow.
Cheeky Bastards Top 100.
Whew. There it is. Yes. A little Tarantino crossover there. Oh,
yeah, a little bit of info for you like-minded folks out here.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I've got a through line for mine, and I felt, thinking about it, which one was going to make number 50? Inglorious, that seems a little too on the nose. People are probably going, he's going to put that there. Fooled you. But we are staying in war. I've done it before when I inducted Apocalypse Now and Full Metal Jacket. We're going to stay in World War II this time. And our 50th induction, and my second of this month, comes from 1998, Saving Private Ryan. Directed by Steven Spielberg, this film is a cinematic tour de force that redefined the war movie genre and stands out as one of the greatest war films ever made. It continues to leave an indelible mark on audiences for its visceral portrayal of World War II. The film opens with an awe-inspiring and harrowing depiction of the D-Day invasion of Normandy, a sequence that remains one of the most realistic and intense portrayals of combat in cinematic history. Spielberg's masterful direction and Janusz Kaminski's cinematography immerse viewers in the chaos and brutality of war, creating an unforgettable experience. However, at its core, Saving Private Ryan is a story of sacrifice, brotherhood, and the human cost of conflict. Tom Hanks delivers a poignant and powerful performance as Captain John Miller, who leads a group of soldiers on a mission to find and bring home Private James Francis Ryan, played by a young Matt Damon. The ensemble cast, including stand-up performances by actors like the late great Tom Sizemore, Ed Burns, and Barry Pepper, brings depth and authenticity to the characters, each representing a different facet of the American experience in World War II. The film is not only about the physical battles, but also explores the moral dilemmas faced by the soldiers as they grapple with the value of a single life amidst the broader horrors of war. Spielberg skillfully balances the intense combat scenes with quieter moments of reflection, making the characters and their journeys all the more relatable and emotional resonant. Saving Private Ryan is a testament to Spielberg's storytelling prowess and his ability to craft a film that simultaneously pays homage to the bravery of those who served in World War II while reminding us of the profound toll of war on individuals and their families. It's a cinematic triumph that continues to move and inspire audiences, making it a must-see classic for anyone who appreciates powerful storytelling and exceptional filmmaking. And even though the fuckers at the Academy Awards did not see this as being the greatest movie of 1998 and gave it to that shit-ass movie that will remain nameless, it now proudly resides and has the honor of being the 50th film inducted into our illustrious top 100 films of all time. Take that, Academy. Fuck you. It is probably the biggest snub, in my opinion, in the history of the Oscars. It not winning the movie of the year for 1998.
It's a fantastic film all around. I think a lot of the time people talk about the beginning Normandy, the beginning battle. But there's more. I'm always kind of amazed at the end battle scene in the town.
Yes.
Where the tanks come in.
So amazing. And then the moment the first time you see it, when Hanks is firing, just because he's not going down without a fight. He's just firing his 45 at the tank, and then all of a sudden the tank explodes, and you're like, what the? And then you see that is a stroke of genius
he thinks he's
from Spielberg.
He thinks he blew it up with his pistol, doesn't he?
Yes.
And then the plane flies over. But there's the bit where they're in like a trench not a trench, but they're kind of like in a dugout hole thing, and the tank just appears above them, like fucking we're in Jurassic Park or Jaws territory almost. You know what I mean? He's the master. This guy, he just knows what he's doing so well.
It's just really great. The whole fucking movie's amazing.
I love the movie. I love the movie too.
All right, well, that is our 4 inductees this month. We have from 1980, Cannibal Holocaust. From 2009, Inglourious Basterds. From 1967, Les Samurai. And from 1998, Saving Private Ryan.
That will do it for part 1 of our Bayhem Unleashed Season 2 Kickoff Extravaganza. We want to thank our special guest, Petros Patsilivas, for joining us. Now you can find the links to all of his endeavors and socials in our show notes. We also want to thank Ryan Rebelkin for adding us to a stable of shows that are dedicated to the action genre over on the Last of the Action Heroes Podcast Network. You can find the link to it along with the links to all of our Cheeky Bastards endeavors in our show notes. So we hope you'll join us again next month for part 2 of our explosive journey through Michael Bay's filmography as we cover what we're calling the Bay section of it with films 6 through 10. And be sure to join us in 3 weeks to check out our latest episode of Dropping a Bruise, available on the Last of the Action Heroes Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcasts. So until then, stay explosive, my friends.
And that's a wrap on this month's show. Please feel free to join in on the debate by following the show on the show's socials, which can be found in the show's notes. If any of you found any of the opinions expressed in this episode to be offensive, we kindly ask that you go fuck yourself. However, if by some miracle you did enjoy the show, like a well-adjusted mature fucking adult, then please feel free to join us again next month to hear Scott or Steve take a shit on something you hold dear. So until next time, remember, opinions are like assholes. They're full of shit and stink, unless, of course, they're yours.
This has been a Man with an Exceptional Beard production.